forgive me for that, but I'm trying to avoid the microphone. So before we start, I would like to share a small joke with you about the 50th anniversary. A couple were celebrating their 50th anniversary. They were going to a dinner, and then they had a nice dinner, and on the way back, the wife saw a little bit of tear in the husband's eyes. She got, oh, my dear, what a wonderful thing. You got really emotional about our 50 years of being together. Is that right? And the husband says, the joke part is not yet. The husband says, no, I'm thinking before that. Your father just threatened me with a shotgun and told me that he will throw me into jail for 50 years. I'm happy tomorrow I'll be a free man. So I think that doesn't definitely fit into REVATHI SRINATH's life. That is totally make myself relaxed. We have known SRINATH and REVATHI for 30 plus years. When we arrived in Houston in '84, these are the first, one of the first couples we met. And immediately that was a big attraction for us. Seeing somebody who is so welcoming and so friendly with people who are just moving in. Most of the people living in Dallas at that time, they won't even recognize our personality. People are so nice to look at us, invite us to their house. And over the years, I have noticed that a lot of things that made my impression more and more favorable about both SRINATH and REVATHI. Both are, in my opinion, are philosophers. One is a serious philosopher. So she's a jovial philosopher. She always puts everything in some humor and delivers the message so powerful. So that was one of the strong points for REVATHI. And also I have noticed that they complement each other in many, many aspects of their life. REVATHI is always bubbling with enthusiasm to do everything. And SRINATH is always behind the scene, but he is also providing all the energy that REVATHI needs. So what a wonderful couple. And I'm sorry my wife is not here. She had a lot to say about these people because she enjoyed all the pujas and everything that you've been organizing. And she was kind enough to be MC in my daughter's wedding. But some years ago, it was very, very nice of you guys to come all the way to Houston and participate in this. And I don't want to take too much of time. Again, I enjoyed the friendship. We are really blessed to have friends like REVATHI. And I cherish their friendship. And they taught us a lot of rich experiences over the years. I wish them this golden anniversary to repeat again and again. And we would like to see you on the diamond anniversary like this again. Thank you again. Congratulations.
I'm very sorry. I know Jayashree and Ram wanted to go somewhere and I forgot. I told her. I promised Jayashree that I'll ask Ram to talk first, but I couldn't. And Ram is a long-time friend of and relative of SRINATH and REVATHI. So please, Ram. I didn't see you.
What a wonderful occasion it is to have all of us here today. So many old faces, so many young faces, and people I haven't seen for a long time. Oh, nice to see you, sir. I haven't seen you in a long time. There's some stories about SRINATH and REVATHI that all of you don't know. So I'm here, like Paul Harvey, to give you the rest of the story. REVATHI and SRINATH have been dear friends for a long time, and he was absolutely dancing a jig when he found out I was going to get married to Jayashree, who turns out that he's a shirt-tail cousin of either REVATHI or SRINATH, I don't know which, but they claimed him automatically, and so by default I was part of the family. But even before that, there are some wonderful things about SRINATH and REVATHI that you don't know. When Dr. SRINATH finished up at Illinois, he had a cowboy hat, and he had this vision. He saw Horace Greeley saying, "Go west, young man, go west." And he was a young man then. So he sold everything he had, and Revathi and he bought a Conestoga wagon, put everything in it, and they headed west. Revathi got very tired of cooking over campfires, making puliodre on the way. And she was relieved when they finally got here to the beautiful, majestic Trinity and the majesty of John Neely Bryant's cabin. And she said, "Honey, this is where we're going to settle down." Srinath, being a beautiful husband, said, "Yes, this is where we're going to settle down." Revathi wanted him to open up a store, a hardware store on Hillcrest and Lover's Lane. But Srinath, being a more staid, old-fashioned gentleman, said, "I think I'll go just a little further east and join SMU." And the rest is history. They had lovely children that also went to SMU, and surprised, all became engineers just like their dad. One of them is still doing engineering, and he's here today with us. And the other one is sort of kind of doing engineering. And the third one isn't here yet, but where is it? Hey, Jay! And one day, I'm sure these two will be walking on the wonderful red carpet in Cannes, celebrating their process and their progress in the film industry with beautiful starlets on their arm. But the Srinaths are just truly wonderful people. It's a blessing to have them here. They have raised a generation of SMU students, graduates. More importantly, they raised a generation of family. And for that, we're very, very grateful. And I'm very appreciative. And I join all of you in wishing them the very, very best. God bless.
Yeah, and I knew Giri was coming into town, and then she told me July she's during the wedding anniversary they are going to go to California for a retreat. Then we added 1 + 1, and then I was trying to reach Giri. I didn't know how to get his number. Then when talking to Shanti and Natarajan, they said somewhere in our mind we know we have their number or their email. So they just gave it to me, and then I emailed Giri, and he was kind enough to tell, "Oh yes, we were planning to do this and my parents will not agree to it." So we said, "We are doing it, you guys are coming here and celebrating it." And we bought the sari and everything. What is a sari without the blouse? So I called Giri and said, "Hey, I need a blouse for mommy. You have one in California. Mommy visits there, right? And I need the size of the shirt for dad. Did he leave his shirt there?" He said, "That shirt, yes, of course, we remember having bought him a shirt. But mom didn't." So they came here and they stole one of Revathi's blouse and gave it to me. And Amla was very kind.
I have the alarm and all.
And Amla was very kind enough. I told her I'm going to give it to you only on Wednesday and I need the blouse by Friday. And she said, "Oh, it's for Revathi. I will do it. Don't worry, bring it." So I gave it to her, and she had it ready for me yesterday. And this was so good, so interesting. And thank you, Chitra and Giri. And now we call Giri to talk a few words about the parents.
Hope it's good.
My brother is really into this celebration. It's not good. I do it now. Okay. So first off, I had a few interesting stories because we've been here for most of the week, and we've been trying to do what we could for this to set up the celebration without letting them in on it. And I had a few interesting anecdotes on this. One, I had to get email addresses for my parents to fill out the guest list, but I had to do it in such a way that they wouldn't get suspicious. Because every time I asked my dad for an email address of someone, he asked a million questions. Why do you need this? What is it for? But get it. However, every single email address he gave me was wrong. Amazing. Yeah, so luckily I was able to touch base to make sure everybody who needed to be invited got invited. It was a perfect score for you. The other thing is Vijayanti just said about borrowing the blouse from my mom. Borrow, I should say. Okay, this is something that doesn't make me look so good, but this is a house I grew up in. My mom has always used the same dresser drawers. When we first arrived in Dallas, I had to basically hunt through those drawers to find the blouse piece. I hunted for nearly a half hour under the guy, and what I did was I basically said, okay, I have to give the kids a bath and put them to bed. And I did it one at a time while the kids were actually doing what they needed to do. I was in there throwing things out of the drawer, putting them back in, trying to find the blouse. Couldn't do it. 30 minutes of searching. Finally, I was telling my wife, I can't do this. And she said, let me try. Within 5 minutes, she found the blouse. I guess women know how women pack their clothes. Men don't. Men have no idea. All right, here's another one that happened. Oh, by the way, the fact that I'm reading this on the cell phone also tells you the difficulty I had in keeping it a surprise. If I had asked my dad for pen and paper to write down notes, he would have asked the same million questions. What do you need this for? What are you writing down? So I had to do it this way. So yesterday we went to the temple because it was my mother's birthday.
Happy birthday.
On our way back, Mrs. Ramani needed something urgent, and me and Mrs. Ramani and Vijayanti, me and Abhiyamanti and Vijayanti had all been corresponding via email, and she needed something unrelated to this event for my mother. Then she sent me a frantic email, said, "Can you tell your mother to call me up now?" And I was thinking, how can I do this in a way that she doesn't get suspicious? Because once again, if I tell her, oh, Abhiyamanti told me I need to tell you to call you up, she would immediately know something strange is going on. So I actually, for the first time, asked her, so what kind of voicemail did you have waiting for you when we got home? And then she was able to finally get the hint after going through all the voicemails. And then but she still didn't figure out why I was asking her. Luckily that worked out okay. The other big thing which I thought was really interesting was my mom actually thought her brother was supposed to visit her when? Next week. Next week. So I had to say, so this week every time we run into friends she would actually say, oh yes, my brother will be coming next week, and I had to kind of suppress a smile, and I had to especially tell the kids who were very good at keeping a secret. Very good for an 11 to go along with it. Finally, the interesting thing that happened, I had to give my dad a cover story to get him out here. And what I told him was that we actually decided to put a deposit down on a photographer, and he would take family portraits at the temple itself. So that way my dad was able to convince my mom to get dressed and come out here tonight, which was extremely difficult. But it was very interesting. So as far as he's concerned, that was a surprise. And by the way, that was Abhiyamanti's idea, so I give her credit. She really picked the right surprise. But what was interesting was, I think he knew something was up, because apparently this morning, he actually went to try to ask the 7-year-old, my daughter, he actually tried to quiz her. He says, I know about the surprise. So we had to, as soon as he said that, we had to ask her, what did you tell him when he asked you? And she said, absolutely nothing. I forgot what the surprise was. But I'll give her credit. This a 7-year-old female, she kept a secret. For a female, I doubt if it's the last time she's ever going to keep a secret in her life. So, on to my parents. So, one thing I can tell you, particularly after having kids now, you start to think about what it was like back when we were kids. And my parents raised us and us three, me and my 2 brothers, with 0 help. I mean, when you go back to when they came to Dallas in 1967, There were less than 10 Indian families that were spread out over the city. So it wasn't easy. I mean, I know people tried to help each other, but it wasn't easy. So they had to do a lot of things themselves. And I even remember, even after moving into our first house, they only had one car. So what my dad would do is he would leave work, pick me up from preschool, which was closer to where he worked, you know, in the afternoon. He would put me on the city bus when I was 5, and then my mom would be waiting at the bus stop to pick me up. Yeah. Good luck in getting my kids to ride the city bus. They won't even do it when they're 18, I'm sure. But I mean, it wasn't easy, but they were able to do it. The other thing I think is also kind of interesting, and I'm actually kind of proud of, is my mom has appeared in the local paper for 6 decades running. You can go all the way back to the 60s, where she taught the first Indian classical dance class at the Dallas Ballet downtown. There's a very nice picture of her in the paper. She's still got it in her clipping. In the 70s, this is actually very interesting. She actually was featured in the food section of the Dallas Morning News. This actually came about because of an argument that happened when she was doing her graduate work at TWU, Texas Women's University of Nutrition, where the thinking that time was that a vegetarian could not get enough protein to sustain a healthy diet. And she actually said no. And the Dallas Morning News got wind of it, and she actually went through the South Indian diet and how it actually gives enough protein for a vegetarian. Then this one was actually something that you may not have known about, but in the early 2000s, in pre-9/11, when the Taliban started forcing Hindus in Afghanistan to wear orange patches to identify them, she was actually quoted in the Dallas Morning News as you know, saying that this is not something that Hindus typically would do. We're a very peaceful religion. She was doing that in her capacity as a temple spokesperson. Well, what was funny was people at work caught a hold of that. And they said, "Giri, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid these Taliban guys are going to send their henchmen after you?" So, I think that she's managed to do it every single decade. You can go up and look up her press clippings. That's pretty impressive. Now, as far as my dad is concerned, I think one of the things that I think was very impressive, very interesting. I actually told this story before at his retirement at SMU in 2008. But you know, when I was doing my PhD in electrical engineering, my PhD advisor was also Dr. Natarajan's PhD advisor. He's sitting in the front. Actually, he would sometimes tell me, "Well, you know, why don't you go?" Before we published a paper, he said, "Why don't you get your dad's opinion on it?" And I said, "You know, I'm not really sure what he said. What he would say. I think he might be hypercritical about it." And he used to laugh. This is Professor Ahmed at the University of New Mexico, and he said, "Oh, okay, I understand. My son would probably say the same thing." But finally, there was one paper that was in early stages we were trying to publish, and my PhD advisor said, "Look, this is not in my area. This is your dad's area. I'm not. We cannot publish this unless you get him to take a look at it." And so I finally went to him, you know, tail between my legs, and asked him to take a look at it. He actually gave a lot of constructive feedback, and that ended up being the first paper we published together. We were both co-authors on it, Transactions on Aerospace and Electronic Systems. And after that, we even followed it with at least one other paper in a book chapter too. So I gotta say, it was quite interesting. I thought he might be. He was actually very encouraging, and I assumed that if he was that encouraging with somebody who he's fairly comfortable with, you know, and he's called me an idiot plenty of times in his life, but he did not call me in this in this case. I can imagine how highly his students at the university must have thought of him. And another thing that I think is very interesting to me is that the grandkids so love their grandparents so much, my kids, that every summer they actually bug me to take a trip out to Dallas. Now, as you may know, we live in San Diego. They actually want to come to Dallas in July, where it's 100 degrees in the shade. They want to leave San Diego just to spend a couple of weeks with their grandparents. So that must tell you something. And I just wish you best wishes for your 50th. And for any other parents. I'm very proud. Thank you.
Blouse.
It's okay.
I have 5 boxes of blouses because I've gained weight. So they're all called hopeful blouses. One day I think that I will get back to them. I hope you didn't get a blouse from that pile.
Don't worry. We have Amma to do alterations. And what is life without memories? Now, going back to 50 years back, the person who was with Revathi on the day of her marriage, who would it be?
Brother.
Yes. Bhaiya, brother, Anna, please come here. What do you say? Anna.
See, now 50 years, people are saying it is 50 years since, it is 50 years since Revathi and SRINATH got married. But now, in my memory, it is as if it is yesterday, because those days, you see, Bangalore used to be such a nice place, and then we were wanting to find a husband for Revathi, but my mother was very close to Revathi. Then I thought among themselves they will find a person who is suitable for Revathi. Luckily, the SRINATH's father also had a hand in that, and ultimately Revathi chose a husband who was still her 50th anniversary. He is also here, and it is a great day for them. And they have got a nice family, grandchildren, and everything is nice. Therefore, let them have a long, happy, wedded life, and health, wealth, prosperity, everything may be showered by the Almighty to them. The only thing is, in Sanskrit, what they say is Shatamanam Bhavati Shatayu Purushat Shatendriyaya, that let them have the 100th anniversary too. Thank you.
Harish, you want to do?
Harish and Jayant.
Jayant is going to do the slideshow. Jayant?
So I think please, first I want to thank the people who planned this.
I want to thank the people who really took the initiative to plan this, which is Abhiyam Ramani and Vijay Rajan. They're really the co-hosts of this party. Giri and I just sort of came along for the ride. And of course I want to thank my cousin who switched my uncle's plane ticket to get him in here today, right? Because my uncle was actually not supposed to come in to next week. And I want to thank everybody for coming and keeping this a surprise. So thank you for all of that. And I want to thank my parents for being married for 50 years. So these people cannot watch a television show for 5 minutes, but they've been married. You know what, if they were treated their marriage like it is when they watch a television show, every 5 minutes it would be, who's that man? That's your husband, okay? Because that's how, who is that man on the TV show? That's the villain. So anyway, we're very glad that they came here and they stayed here. We're very glad that they've been here. You know, they've been married for 50 years. I'm 43. Okay, how come I only have one older brother? What's that about? Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but we got you one younger brother.
Yeah. You know, when they came here, like my brother mentioned, they were the only Indians. So my mom, this is an old joke, my mom saw
drumsticks served inside, and she got really excited. It was a Kentucky Fried Chicken. She went to the grocery store, and she said, "Can I have some coriander?" And the guy said, "Ma'am, there's no such thing as coriander." And then 15 years later, he said, "Ma'am, it's called cilantro." Right? Okay, so I'm going to let you guys have dinner now. And I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you for making this great, and thanks for working with us to make this a surprise. We got a lot of good pictures of my mom crying. I'm going to use them against her soon. Thank you. Jay's going to put up a slideshow now that you can watch, right?
1 second. I hope you all had snacks, right? You're all not hungry, right? Can you spend another 15-20 minutes? Yeah. We're going to do the cake cutting, and then Jay prepared a lovely slideshow for his parents, which we are going to watch, and then we can have dinner.
Okay. Yeah.
So, we know Revathi is all holy Perumalai. Okay? So we didn't know what to do, what cake to cut for her. The first thing, we had to look for an eggless cake. Then we found the person, one of my daughter's friend. She does eggless cakes. Then we said, can we create Tirumala, Tirupati hills over there on the cake? But then we thought it's you know, she's an American, so we cannot say, you know, we want hills, Tirupati and everything. So we told her we want a hills with waterfalls, and then that should have a lotus flower, and then we had this person make the cake. Then my husband comes this morning and says, why don't you put a Lakshmi on the lotus flower? Where do I go for Lakshmi? Then I hunted in my house and I found a Lakshmi. So we put it on the lotus flower. And we said, there were so many helping hands, and I should really thank my daughter for 60% of things were done by her. She designed the mala, and I know Mahalakshmi and Jiva came to my house and they helped with the mala. And anytime I can call Kamakshi and tell her, Kamakshi, can you please do this? And I was supposed to bring the chair, then I told her, please bring the chairs, and then she said, so many helping hands. I could call Avayam, I could call Vijay Somnath, so many helping hands, and another person there who would tell me in the 12th hour, hey, you did everything right, go get some roses, give it to ladies, and then make it a particular, Pakka Tamil Thirumanam, okay? I said, if I have to go at this hour and buy roses, I need hairpins. Where do I go? He said, give it. Go get some hairpins. Where do I go? And that guy is Ramanathan. Oh. So, thank you all for your suggestions, and thank you kids for keeping it a real secret from grandma. You didn't know, right, Revathi? You didn't know, right? Okay.
I would have dressed better. I am coming to I had a special sari for my day, July 7th.
You can wear it then. Don't worry. That was another question. Hari goes, oh, what do we do? If we tell her just we'll go to the temple, my mom won't get dressed up grand. What do we do? Then Avayam goes with, oh, say there's a photo session mommy wanted to do with the kids. And so there you go.
I just want to point something out, that we had a bunch of women working on this, and it was the guy who thought about the clothes for my mom. What is that about? I'm the one who said we have to get her hair dressed up.
Yeah, you're the one who said that. Right. Then finally, she thought, this is grand. Maapla, solunga, wife பொண்ணு நல்லா never give up. So yeah, let's do the cake cutting. Yes?
தேங்காய் உருட்டு அவரே.
தேங்காய் உருட்டுதா? 50 வருஷம் உருட்டுனது பத்தாதா? வேண்டாம். No, you can thank now, but we do the cake cutting. And then the sliding. Bueno.